Hello, everybody. Andy Goldberg here. Welcome to the Founders Chair podcast. I'm delighted to have on the show today Peter Henderson from the company Pisys. Peter, welcome to the Founders Chair.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for inviting me on.
Well, it's a real pleasure having you on today, and I'm excited to hear about your story. Can we just hear your personal story first, Peter? Tell us a little bit about where you're from, where you live, what you get up to when you're not working. Although we can probably guess from the background, but just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I was brought up in the northeast of Scotland. I was born in Aberdeen, but they've got a maternity hospital here, so I didn't have any say in that. And I was brought up in the northeast, really quite near the River Spey, in a place called Mostodloch. So if you can pronounce that and remember it, you're one of a very select group of people. Moved to Aberdeen to study and and then really kind of worked and lived there more or less since then. Got married to Elaine and we live currently in Aberdeen. Um, Spare time, yeah, you've guessed correctly. I do quite a lot of music. I'm involved in my local church, playing the band there. I also play in a ceilidh band, and work does keep me pretty busy. But it's a lovely place, Aberdeen. So you've got the sea 5 minutes away, and you've got the mountains half an hour away. So and the city's not really like a city; it's like a big village. So it's a nice place to be.
Brilliant. So yeah, it does sound like it. Tell us a little bit. Tell us about the story of how the business came about, Peter. So, just what was the point at which you decided that you could run your own business, and what gave you that confidence?
So I when I graduated from university, I had a perfectly mediocre degree, and I got a job working in the oil industry in the 80s for a company which did offshore survey, which was really going out, basically involved going out in small survey boats and surveying pipelines and the seabed and oil platforms and things like that. So it was a great job for a young guy. It was quite exciting, a little bit of adventure,
Yeah.
and but the problem with the oil industry is anybody who's been in the oil industry for more than 10 years has been through a slump. It's kind of once in every 10-year period you'll get at least one of those. And in the mid 80s there was one. I think it was about 86 or something. And our company were uh, cutting costs. We were the IT department, so um, we had a special status because they depended totally on the computer programmers who we in those days it was pre-internet, so we had to go offshore with the jobs and write code on the boats. So it was so we
Mm.
were quite we felt that we were quite pivotal to the organization. But in order to keep us busy through the slump, they got us doing a really boring documentation task, and no no IT guy likes documentation. So I started thinking that I could do something on my own. I got the impetus, if you like, and I think what I've realized about myself over that period and since then is I need to have some kind of jeopardy before I'll take that step. So I actually had that conversation with myself. I said, look, I'm going to have to resign from this job because I could stay here and it would be fine. It'd be a bit dull, but it would be fine. So my first move, my first part of the business plan was resign first, and then we'll see what happens. So I resigned. I Fortunately they wanted me to stay on, so they offered me a contract. So it allowed me to set up a freelancing vehicle, which was called Aardvark Software Consultants. And the reason for that was, one of the second business lesson I learned was that you should never take business advice from your mate in a pub, because he convinced me that Aardvark having two A's in it would be at the front of the yellow pages. And of course, it wasn't, because A1 tax A's and A2 double glazing, and every letter number combination was in front of aardvark. So anyway, we kept that name for quite a while, and they changed it to Pisys when people started telling us it was a rubbish name. Um, so that was that. And after a few years, I really just used it as a freelancing vehicle. Went around and did jobs for people, selling my time basically. But after a few years, we I started employing people and building a set of products, which is what we do now. Um, and we're really just a product focused IT company.
Okay, so we'll come back to this later, but one piece of advice is never take advice from your mate in the pub. uh,
Absolutely.
Business advice. I watch who you're getting advice from, which is it's interesting because this isn't the first interview I'm doing today, and that was the advice that came from the earlier conversation as well. Not in a pub, but be careful who you surround yourself with. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
What is it? The most expensive advice you can get is free advice from a poor person.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And I've heard the quote as well that you can be in the arena fighting the lions, or you can be in the cheap seats criticizing the ice cream or the candy floss, and most of those people that are giving you advice have never been in the arena. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Keyboard warriors, I think they're called now. Sports fans call them the keyboard warriors.
Yeah,
Tell us a
yeah.
little bit about Pisys, Peter. What do you do? What do you build? And who do you build it for?
So we build software products which are aimed at improving safety and effectiveness for businesses. Initially, or originally, I should say, we were very much focused on the energy sector, but after quite a lot, actually, fully 15 years or so, we started to get. So I should say that the company was founded in 1988, so we're 37 coming up in our 37th year now. No, actually, we are 37 because it was February 1988. So we're in our 38th year now. So um, we originally aimed at the energy sector, and um, latterly we've realised that health and safety, the story that we have from working in one of the most hostile environments on the planet, actually lands quite well with customers who've got health and safety issues, and the problems they have are the same ones that the guys on the survey boats have. It's just a different environment. So yeah, so that's been good. So our products translate quite well, and now we've got a huge range of different industries using our products. We just brought on a group of distillers, a group of distilleries, a distiller who has a group of distilleries, and they have the same issues, that everybody else has.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Peter about like we're talking about getting advice from your mate in a pub. Tell us who has been the source of real wisdom or inspiration for you that and I don't mean wisdom necessarily, but who kind of pushed you and inspired you you know, into achieving what you've achieved and what was the impact?
Well, I worked with a guy called Ray Allen offshore, and neither of us really had a clue, to be honest. But when I started the business, Ray continued to work offshore, but he wanted to get involved, and we were kind of, it was hubris, I guess, but we were between us. We convinced ourselves that we could build products, because Ray brought a different angle to things. He's got more of a survey background. I had more of an IT background. So between the two of us, we convinced ourselves that we could do it. And Ray actually, when he went offshore, he continued to do that, but he left me his bank card so that I could take money out of the bank and spend it. And that was brilliant because it meant that I could work on building the business and I didn't have to sell as much of my time as I was previously doing. Could focus on building products. So that was really good. But apart from that, yeah, pre-internet, I do remember going down to the bookshop quite a lot, and browsing the business and computing sectors. Um,
How to run
quite
a business.
how do you do that? Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
And
so yeah,
was
and
it good material? Like, were you able to find what you needed in a bookstore? Because people now just you can just Google it and ask ChatGPT.
yeah,
Did you?
yeah. I mean, obviously, there's something to be said for having less choice, I think, because you kind of tend to, you might only have one book that's going to give you anything like the information you need, but you know, that's just the one you use and you kind of get by. Whereas I sometimes feel that, you've got the double problem. At least a book's been through some kind of review process, but the internet's kind of,
Yeah,
in many cases, not that reliable.
and you get too much information.
You do. Yeah, you do.
Uh, okay, so tell us what's been your biggest learning as a business owner, Peter?
Um, I, for me, I think that what drives me is that you have to be in motion. Um, if we've been in situations where we can see a change coming. For example, 10 years ago we saw an increased focus on IT security. Companies were sending us questionnaires and asking us to describe our security policies to them. And honestly, we didn't really have any good ones. We were making them up. But we got on. So I saw that coming and I said, right, we're going to move towards this because it's coming towards us. So we need to be moving towards it. And we need to meet that thing on our terms. So we're going to go through the accreditation process for British standards. It's called ISO 27001, which is about information security. So we spent a great deal of time and money getting ourselves to the point where we were able to pass the certification process. And we're now, it's just been a great thing for us, a great tool for a small company to have that because it just makes those conversations much easier. And we're talking more and more to security people in our clients. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. And also just um, having an idea, even an idea for a product, and not overthinking it. Let's just get something out there, start working on it, and we'll be flexible enough to change direction if we need to. So there's a kind of idea of forward motion, really, I guess, in the
Yeah, and
business.
get moving.
Get moving. Yeah.
Don't wait until you're.
Yeah. That
Don't wait till it's perfect because you don't know what you've got anyway until you get out.
perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect is it's a fictional character. Perfect, isn't it? It's
indeed.
and I always think, I mean, to go back to the survey, because I spent a lot of time on boats, and boats are very safe in harbour, but that's not what boats are for. You've got to be out there, and they've got to be moving because otherwise you can't steer them. So I've worn that phrase out quite a lot with my team. So glad
Okay.
to be able to try it on you now.
What would you say has been your biggest challenge in business during the years, Peter? And who did you have who helped you through it, and how did you get through it?
we because we're techies at heart, and although we do have a focus on health and safety products, we've got a very firm idea of what it is we do and we sell. In the past, we have been attracted to shiny things and opportunities that we really should have left alone, and almost almost all of them have been a complete disaster, other than the core thing that we do now, which is developing products. We acquired an IT recruitment company, and we weren't really equipped to do that. It had a brief purpose because we had a big contract that we needed to put people into, and that was helpful, but ultimately it was a disaster. We we started we built a education product for schools, which was internet based, and it allowed schools to report on pupil performance. Now, it was a good product, and the schools that got it liked it, but there were so many problems getting it into schools, getting schools to buy it.
Yeah.
And I mean, and again, kind of very, very early days of the internet, and we didn't really have an internet connection to service it. And schools didn't have great connectivity, and we didn't have a great server, and schools had no money. So yeah, so things like that, and that one, I would say that one probably brought us. If you talk about near-death experiences, that was kind of 100 feet from the ground, screaming towards the ground at a fast rate.
So it's good to take chances and it's good to take risks, but you don't want to take the ones that are gonna that if they go wrong, they're gonna destroy the business.
No, that's right. And if you, yeah, that's and there's quite often an absence of anybody telling you that that could happen. We were young, younger, um, and that was yeah. Certainly if I had my time again, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do either of those things. Yeah,
Yeah, but when we as we get older, we've got that hindsight. But
yeah,
I think when you're younger, that is when you want to take those risks, though, right?
yeah,
That's how
yeah.
you learn and grow, and you've got less to lose, maybe.
Yes, yeah, and certainly, I mean, now at this stage, I mean, a lot of you see problems, but actually, you've got a little book, and you look at the book and book of problems I have had, and you realize that this new one's just the old one with a TikTok account. It's it's the same thing, really. So you get a little bit not blasé, but you kind of have some muscle memory about how what you did last time. So.
What's the next big thing for you and your business, Peter? What do the next 1 to 3 years look like in terms of growth and opportunity and challenges? What do you see as the challenges that you're facing moving forward?
We're seeing, I mean, the opportunity is very real for us. It's good. The pipeline is good just now, and it looks like we're expanding into other markets. I think the challenge for us, and one um, scary thing is that we now employ people who weren't born when we set up the company. So you've got a whole at least one generation of people who've grown up with a completely different view of how they interact with applications. And that we've seen that move very much to the mobile devices.
Hmm.
And but we can't relax. We've got to be thinking about what is after peak phone, and people say we've reached peak phone. So what is the next thing? And we've seen in the last few days that um, Sam Altman's bought Johnny Ive's company, and so that means that OpenAI will be appearing on a pair of earbuds near you shortly. So what does that look like in terms of how people will interact with technology? And so we want to be there. We want to be ahead of that if we can. But it's quite it's an exciting time, but there's a lot of challenges.
Yeah, I mean, because in the technology business, I guess it's moving so fast.
Yeah, yeah.
You're either gonna be one of the movers or one of the followers.
Absolutely, and the threat profile is vast as well, and I think we've seen that just in the last couple of weeks as well, with a few stores getting basically brought to their knees by hacker attacks. So yeah,
So how do you do? I mean, how do you do that? Um, how do you keep your eye on the future and on the markets and things when you've got a busy business to run? You've
yeah,
got
it's
a
yeah, sorry.
day-to-day company there that's got its own demands.
Yeah, it is a challenge. I think all our team are reasonably, clued in to, there's a few of the guys and girls who pay attention to the latest developments, and we have a team meeting every week where one of the things we talk about is just what's coming and what's happening, and a lot of that is around security threats, but it's also where new platforms emerge, new languages, new technologies. we 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 discuss those, and if we get the chance, we will try and get a project which will allow us to expose our team to those new techniques and technologies. So it's quite yeah. We're not perfect, but
Yeah.
we appreciate we should be doing it, and we do try to do it when we can.
So just before we wrap up, Peter, what advice would you have for business owners or who are just going out on their own or would be business owners who are considering going out on their own?
Well, I think one of the things that I probably have taken a bit long to realize is that I think people rush to hire sales teams, and I think in the early days of having a business, you are the you are the face of your company, and you know the company best better than anyone. So what for me, what I probably should have done earlier is realize that I am the salesperson. I'm the business. I'm bringing in the business. So I'm focused on demand, and then anything that isn't demand generation, I should be I should be outsourcing if you can, or automating through one of the many products that are around now, and those weren't available when we were starting out, but we had spreadsheets and things, and there were ways of doing it that I possibly could have got on top of quicker. Yeah. So yeah, cash flow is ruthlessly focused on cash flow, and that never goes away. That problem. I think focus. Just like I've said, we probably got distracted. We went down a few rabbit holes. And it is difficult when you don't know what's going to stick. There's a temptation to throw lots of things at the wall and try them all. And that's okay as long as you said, you're not betting the farm on it. You can do
Yeah.
experiments.
That's the only way to know what's going to stick is by
Yeah,
throwing it against the wall, right? So,
yeah, yeah,
so quite right, yeah. But you've just got to mitigate the damage, I guess.
yeah, yeah,
But I love what you said about making sure that you're responsible for bringing in sales, right? You're
yeah.
responsible for bringing in money because the company can't run if it's not making sales.
No, no. And I was never. I was at best an average uh, tech in that sense. So I wasn't the best. I mean, I was the only person that was doing it right enough to start with, but it was quickly obvious that I needed to hire people that could do that better. So,
Good
and
advice.
fortunately, I have, and yeah, and I think to your point on what sticks, you just don't have the data, and people talk about market research, but I mean, if it's a relatively new thing, you've got no you've got no data, you
Right.
know. You can't. If we had a million customers, we could ask them if they'd like it to be green rather than blue, but we don't. So you just got to. Sometimes you just
Yeah.
make it blue and see who complains.
Yeah. And that's what innovators go through. Like 100%
Yeah,
of innovators had no data.
yeah,
Otherwise, they're not the innovator, right? So it's the risk, but to the risk takers come the rewards at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah,
But at the same time, they're getting those rewards. They're also getting all those little mini disasters and
absolutely.
failures.
Yeah, many disasters. They're the sort of disasters I like.
Yeah,
I have to
I
have
just made that term up just now. I just coined a new phrase: mini
so,
disaster.
so many disasters and how to avoid them. That could be that
Exactly.
could be your
That's the title of a good book, I think.
excellent. Yeah, I'll give you some massive disasters to include in that if you want.
Yeah, I'll come to you for those quotes. Peter, it's been an absolute joy speaking with you today. Thanks so much for being on the show. Really enjoyed hearing your story.
Yeah, well, thanks, Andrew. Enjoyed being here. So,
And
yeah,
thanks to all of our viewers and our listeners for coming back to the Founders Chair again and again. And please keep an eye out for more interviews on our YouTube channel and LinkedIn moving forward. But that just leaves me to say thanks once again to Peter Henderson from Pisys. Peter, thanks again.
thank you.